Do you know about these amazing print-in-place models from FAB365? The ones that print unfolded and then transform magically into an object? Well, I managed to design my own, and today I'm going to show you how you can too. Consider this video a new tutorial for my 3D Design for 3D Printing series, the playlist for which is linked below, but also partly a love letter to the designers from FAB365. I've featured their work in many of my videos, and it really is mesmerizing. I've made my own design that works in the same way. It's not as good as theirs, but I'd still like to share with you what I learned in doing so. I'm going to start this video by referencing another, where I recently covered really difficult prints that were really satisfying once you got them to work. And my favourite of those prints was the Pip-Bop 1 print-in-place robot by Extreme 3D Print. This was completely print-in-place, with all parts pre-assembled on a single plate. Assuming you're successful, after the model is removed, you'll immediately notice that there's tank treads on either side that articulate to the point where they're completely functional. The two halves of the base then fold into the center, completing a tank configuration. A really awesome design, but there is no top available, so that's why I want to design my own. The proportion of the tank tracks reminded me of a vehicle from the game Metal Slug, so I found these renders from Alexander Gargett to use as a reference. I won't be able to match it exactly, but there's cues I want to take from the design language, such as the stubby turret and little adornments hanging off pretty much every surface. In terms of adding on to the original model, there's not actually any decent mounting surfaces on the outside, but we do have this hole in the middle where you're meant to be able to put a bolt through to stop the two halves from unfolding. Therefore, the whole front and back will be my mounting targets. Beyond that, my only other design goal is to have everything print from a single plate, including any movable parts, and then fold together to assemble. The tank model was paid but came with many components, including the source CAD in 3 different formats. Since this is a paid model, I won't be sharing my CAD, and I'll be hiding the URL just in case. I started in Onshape by importing that CAD file, going for the IGES file. In less than a minute, everything was imported successfully, and you'll notice some new tabs along the bottom. One is the complete assembly in printing configuration, there's 2 other assemblies with just the tank treads, and then a parts document with individual parts that make up those assemblies. Our first job is to transform this model so it's sitting in its final assembled position, and then we can build onto that. I started by making groups by selecting all of the objects on one side. If we just hover over them, we can see what we should click and what we should ignore. With everything in one half selected, we could then come up and click the group button. We now repeat for everything on the other side, making a second group. With these groups, it should mean that if we click an object on one side, we can move and manipulate that, and everything will stay together. But first, let's temporarily separate them and add in a mate to get them locked into the right position. I went for the center of the cone, and then the same position on the other side. You'll see that this side is flush, whereas this side has a gap, so let's turn on the offset and play with the value until it looks like it's roughly in the middle. Now with this first mate in place, when we click on one side, we should be able to rotate it, but keep it in the correct position, enter the exact value of 180 degrees, and finally our part is in the correct position we need to model around it. But this is an assembly, so we can't sketch or add any new parts here, but luckily Onshape has a trick for this. If we come up to the top toolbar, we have a button that says Create Part Studio in Context. Because I'm mounting everything to one of these holes, I'm going to cancel this and quickly set up a Make Connector there. We'll click on Make Connector and then snap to the center of the hole, hit the tick, come back to our Context tool and select our Make Connector. Once we hit the tick, we can see that we have this dialog box up the top with a slider to change the transparency of the source assembly. But most importantly, we can now add sketches on the surfaces of the existing model, and in those sketches we can use the Use tool to project existing geometry and snap to it. Because this is a print-in-place model, the first thing I did was create a variable called clearance that I set at a typical 0.3mm. After that, I created a 2D sketch that would drive most of the design. Down the bottom, it's got the outline of the top half of the tank's body, then we have a rotating section in the middle, and the turret which is going to rotate inside that. You'll notice that for any of these gaps, it says 0.3mm, but if we double click it, we can see it's actually referencing our variable. That means that later on, I can come back and edit this variable, and every sketch, including this one that references a variable, will update automatically. I've got a whole Onshape tutorial on this topic linked down below. For this center swiveling section, I use the same type of design as the print-in-place catapult that I produced just before Christmas last year. Using the revolve tool, I created the central part of the body, then some simple extrudes and extruded cuts to add the top section, before doing a simple extrude to create the second half of the body. Later on, when more details are refined, I use the same sketch to revolve and cut out a matching hollow in the tank body. A section view shows that there's equal clearance on either side. The tapered surfaces prevent the part from falling through the top or bottom, but still allow it to rotate inside the blue portion. Still using that same sketch, I cut away a section inside the grey half, and again using the same sketch, add in the makings of what will be the turret that can rotate up and down. And one last time with that original sketch, I revolve the tip of the turret on top. If we look inside, we can see the base of the turret has a little section extending down to the ground just to avoid support material. And when this rotates down to the right, we have extra clearance on the inside so that our built-in support doesn't jam and prevent it from moving. Finally, I set up my second sketch to create the interface for the turret to rotate inside the upper body. The revolve tool was used twice, once for a cutout inside the turret, and then a second time to add matching bosses inside the upper half of the body, again with the same 0.3mm clearance. Our next sketch is to set up the moving parts that will fold down and cover the tank tracks. I use this sketch to cut out a long portion along the edge, and then the same sketch to extrude back, filling in the middle. This leaves two handles where a part can rotate yet be printed in place. Our next sketch is probably the most complicated, even though it looks simple, as I'm trying to cater for the position where the part will print, as well as the position where it will rotate to upon assembly. These two parts of geometry use equal relations to set their length to be the same. For instance, these two corresponding lines are matching. In this version, the part sits in the position that it will print, and the solid version shows the part where it will be assembled to. After a couple of extrudes, we have our basic shape, and if we look inside with the section view, we can see we have clearance for the two parts to never touch, which should allow this side piece to rotate freely. We have a similar sketch and extrusions to create handles on the front and the rear, and then some simple sketches that put the next pieces of the bodywork in the position that I intend. Some more extrudes, keeping that 0.3mm gap between any moving parts, gets these front and back sections in position. The next sketch was also crucial, as it added the next two parts that would interface with our mounting hole in the middle. After getting the basic shape for this part, I then did some cutting out to make sure I would clear the existing model that I was attaching this to. Finally, I traced the mounting hole and created two clearance circles, which were extruded to create room for a bolt to enter. I then repeated all of this for the front, and that gave me all of my basic panels. Since we're designing for multiple positions at once, how do we verify that everything actually works? For me, the answer was in creating another assembly. As soon as I had finished a part, I would switch to this assembly and insert the part into its correct position. I would click on it and use the basic rotation tool to get the base orientation correct, and then apply mates, such as this revolute mate, to lock the parts together but still allow them the degree of freedom required to test the movement. To help ensure parts were perfectly flat to the bed, I would then use a planar mate to get the bottom of each part parallel. In the Part Studio, I can check for clearances in the folded position, but this assembly also allowed me to check for clearances in the unfolded printing position. With the design resolved to this simplistic state, I figured now was a good time to test if everything was working. I printed this one from Blue PETG on the Bamboo Lab P1P. The printer did a great job, but I soon realized I'd made some mistakes. Upon removing the model from the build plate, I noticed that one of the sides was very rough underneath, as if it had peeled up off the bed. Not only this, but it was also locked in place and not moving like the rest of the parts. Looking back at the printing assembly, it was obvious that I hadn't placed one of the sides flat on the ground, so at least that was an easy fix. I simply added another planar mate and this was job done. On top of the model, although the turret could move up and down, the part of the body that the turret was meant to rotate in seemed to be completely one piece, with only a faint line on the bottom telling you it was ever meant to be there. So I made a section view of the design, something I should have done at the start, and as you can see, I made a mistake with one of my revolves and there's no clearance between the inner and outer parts. Going back to the part studio, I could see I had sketched the right clearance, but when I was doing the revolve, I simply missed clicking on the air gap in between the parts, so this was also a quick fix. Because these problems come in threes, at the back of the tank, one of the folding hinges was also fused and wouldn't rotate. This was strange because the front was designed in the same way and worked flawlessly. It turns out this one was just a simple design mistake, where these two corners intersected the main body when the model was unfolded in its flat position. After a little bit of trial and error, I found a radius to add to the corners that would give sufficient clearance and hopefully make the folding parts completely functional. I then spent some time doing what I should have done at the start, examining the model with section views to ensure there was gaps where appropriate. With some force, I did manage to snap free the back tailgate, and that allowed me to assemble the model using two M3x12 bolts that come from the front and rear. With both of these in place, I could then inspect the model and test the rest of the functions. The turret had a tight spot where that bottom support post was just failing on the inside. I fixed this by adding clearance chamfers on the underside of that piece. I also decided that I needed a little bit more room between the tank tracks and the body of the tank. As it stood, things were a little bit too close in some areas. So I went back to the part studio and narrowed the width of the front and rear plates, and I also gave myself a bit more separation on the side fold down sections. After another thorough inspection using section views in the printing assembly, I was confident that my base was ready to go. With the basic shape tested and now theoretically working, I could go back and add some embellishments. So back to my reference art, and I wasn't trying to copy it exactly, just to take design cues. And after a few hours, this is where I ended up. Honestly, I was just adding random shapes a lot of the time, but I did take some direct design cues, such as the angled exhaust out the back, spheres with joining pipes and bulges on the outer sections, adding in splits in the bodywork with joining pieces, with steps and a support to the turret, including some nice barreling on the inside. To achieve this, I created a helical gear with a bullion cut into the turret. The sketches for a lot of these features are quite messy, with outlines and simple patterns, and then me manually clicking all of the ones I wanted to emboss, and then extruding shallow cuts into the surface. The messiest sketch is the one for the heat vent on the back, and with so many lines I had to individually click each of these segments to select what I wanted to become 3D geometry. The end result is simple but should add a lot of detail. A lot of these features are just about making the surface look busy and not blank like it was before. Honestly, I don't have much knowledge of tanks, but to me it looks much better than it did earlier. With these new features in place, I again had to check the assembly to make sure nothing fouled, and also with these moving parts, it's important to check that they'll print without support material. You can see I've added little fillets and chamfers to stop what would have otherwise been an unsupported overhang the whole way along this edge. Everything was checked, so it was time for the final print. The new model was printed in the same conditions as before, and this time when I flexed it off the bed, everything moved as you would expect. The simplified version that I printed earlier had successfully allowed me to overcome any issues that I had created. I didn't test it on the first model, so it was good that the turret assembly rotated freely too. By this stage I was quite excited about the final assembly, folding the tank body around the chassis, and then using two M3x12 bolts to hold the separate sections together. And with that, my FAB365 style print and place model was complete. I'm feeling a tremendous sense of achievement from this, and I also feel that the printed final version looks better than it did in CAD on the screen. I'm claiming this one as a win, especially when you compare the final design to the earlier simple prototype. The designers at FAB365 are still the masters. There is absolutely zero doubt of that. But maybe the design steps in this video might let the rest of us take our first steps in the right direction. If you want to print my model, it's on Printables and linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy print in place designing.
G'day, it's Michael again. If you liked the video, then please click like. If you want to see more content like this in future, click subscribe and make sure you click on the bell to receive every notification. If you really want to support the channel and see exclusive content, become a patron. Visit my Patreon page. See you next time.